by Travion Brown and Will Rogers.
Passion and
1 minute standby.
Cougar football, Cougar athletics. Once a Cougar, always a Cougar, and you see that everywhere. It's a real, genuine passion.
This is the U.S. Bank Cougar Coaches Show on the Washington State Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. U.S. Bank. Put your trust in a bank that's been focused on serving the people and businesses in Washington and all across the country since 1863. That's U.S. Bank. Equal housing lender, member FDIC. Tonight's show is also brought to you by Northern Quest Resort and Casino. Need something to smile about? Try taking home your share of millions in jackpots at Northern
Jerry,
Quest.
do you need a stereo feed or a mono feed?
Northern Quest, now playing, now paying.
Okay,
and
cool.
by Zeppos, the home for the Cougar Coaches Show, where the Palouse comes to play and eat. Now, live from Zeppos alongside Cougar head coach Nick Rolovich, here's the voice of the Cougars, Matt Chazanow.
It is that time of the week, and it's great to be with you. We are back here in Zeppos talking ball. And, Coach, since we last spoke, we have a schedule. We're on the clock. We know when, and we know which teams and the dates of the opponents and the whole schedule. And we start off in Corvallis against the Oregon State Beavers. And I would imagine once that kicked in, you guys had, with that definition and a little more focus and a little more intensity right away.
Well, I think it gave our players a real – I think the definition word you just used is exactly what it is. They finally had something – concrete in front of them after so many changes and adjustments, and they deserve a lot of credit just as young people and how they handled it, all the changes. But I think it did exactly what you spoke about, is now they got something to focus on.
Is one of the most difficult parts of all this, of the many elements that have been difficult, was the lack of a plan. Football players and football coaches are so structured. You've got a certain amount of time in the day where you lift at this time, you go to class at this time, you got practice at this time, and all that's been pulled away along with all this.
I know what you're getting at. I think it's not necessarily a lack of a plan, because it was such a hard time for everyone to make a plan, and with all the, whether it's administration or Pac-12 with schedules. But I have become a master schedule maker.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Practice, timing, and we've had a ton of adjustments. I tend to like working in that world anyway, but for guys who need it, 6 months in advance, every day planned out, they couldn't have it this year.
Right.
And so, but we got to this point okay, and now we're just going to move forward day by day.
Was that a this year development for you in terms of planning and structure and schedules, or do you feel
I like spontaneous.
You do. You're more spontaneous than you are planned out.
Yeah.
And that's going way back to Hawaii and
probably my whole life. Yeah.
Is that right?
I mean, but there are coaches that deserve to have a plan and be able to work well in their space, and that's part of my job, is to give them that opportunity. So.
How much have you looked at the league, the teams, the Beavers, the Ducks, Stanford, the North, and then the crossover game against USC? How deep of a dive have you done?
We've dove in all of them. There was talk of a possible, maybe we go to a North schedule. So, obviously we focused on Washington, and just because of who they are, but and then the North teams, because you're going to play them when it gets a. But I felt like we've done a good enough job to have an idea what we're going to see. And I think in those down times when we couldn't work with the guys or we weren't doing anything, I thought our assistant coaches on offense and defense really got familiar with not only each other, especially on the defensive side of the ball, but with the opponents that we would, you're looking at the Houston game right there, right?
That's right. Yeah, they could have been up here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they were supposed to be. Yeah.
It was good practice for the coaches and the GAs to get through all the scouting reports and all that. So now we just got to keep up with how the teams are developing that we're playing, and really concentrate on making our team the best we can make it.
When you look at the Beavers and the Ducks and the Huskies, all these teams in the North that you're going to play this year, because there's roster fluidity week to week, and in some ways, there have been players opting out and all this stuff that can go on. Is it more about coaching schemes and seeing what coaches want to do as opposed to breaking down personnel? Because it's too far out, 4 weeks out, or are you already getting into that?
No, I think you do personnel also. I'm really, I don't know if it's honored or just impressed with the coaches throughout this conference. Not only head coaches, but I think there's a ton of great coordinators. I think there's good position coaches and recruiters. So they'll all kind of pose their own challenges schematically, and motivation and all that stuff comes in. But Oregon State's a very well-coached football team. I know a few of their coaches, and I think Jonathan Smith has had a few years to start getting his culture ingrained, and that they could be a very well. I think they've improved ever since he's got there, to be honest with you.
You are familiar with some of the Pac schools just from last year. You guys had a winning record against Pac schools at Hawaii, so you know intimately. You're very well aware, and also recruiting footprints got across.
They cross,
right? Mountain West, Pac-12, and Hawaii, and the islands, and
Oregon State has traditionally done a nice job in the Polynesian players, so we crossed over with that. Arizona has done the same, especially recently. So all that kind of there's some familiarity.
OSU's running back's really good. Jamar Jefferson jumps out. And you said Jonathan Smith and culture. He was a QB for them. The offense has been, since he got there, the offense has been really good.
Yeah. Good quarterback, good receiver. They got but they do got some speed. Tibesar's a real experienced, kind of cutting edge defensive coach who's had another year to get his kind of scheme embedded in his players. So, and recruiting another year to that system. So, expect them to be an incredible challenge game one.
Do you care about what media members vote for preseason standings and predictions?
No, but I care even less this year.
Yeah.
Because everyone has there's not a lot of information like they usually have, and I think it's great. Picking us last is fine with me. I think you got nothing to lose. Play your heart out, play together, and see what happens.
Do you talk to the team about it at all? Do they care?
Yeah, I told them. I asked Willie Taylor. I said, "All right, I got good news and bad news." I said, "What do you want first?" He said, "Bad news." I said, "They picked you guys to finish last." He said, "Okay, give me the good news." I said it a different way. I don't care, and you shouldn't either. So that was about the extent of our conversation.
Let's talk D-line. Willie Taylor is one of the really experienced returners. His position changes a little bit, though. If you look at last year, there were not, at least by depth chart, 4 down linemen. This year, there will be 4 down linemen, and Willie may be one of those guys and put a hand down, maybe not. But what's Willie's role been? How's the defensive line look? And how are you planning, and how is Coach Dickert planning to try to break pockets up and get to QBs?
Well, I'm not going to tell you all the secrets,
but
I do appreciate.
Yep.
I think Coach Coop coming over with Dickert. There's a lot of obviously familiarity, and it was a seamless transition for the ends. And I think there is some talent in what we call our edge group. So, Brennan Jackson has had a tremendous offseason. I'm really excited about R.J. Stone as a player, but also as a person and a personality. I think he has a real gift to bring people together. I think he's got some real high-level social skills and passion for the game. That combination can really be something that can be an incredible positive for the defense, especially a defensive group who may need, may have some confidence issues after what happened last year, but they haven't shown it yet. But I think RJ will end up being a real force in the leadership category, especially as he moves on as he gets older.
Big personality.
Big, wonderful personality.
Big smile.
Loves football,
Yep.
loves the Cougs.
Yeah, I asked him last year if he had beaten his father in any athletic endeavor. He said he's got a little bit of ways to go.
Yeah.
For those Ron Stone was a Pro Bowl lineman and a really, really good pro football player for a long time.
But I told RJ, I'm going to continue to press you because I do think you've got leadership qualities.
Yeah.
And he was excited about that opportunity. We talked about that early in the summer. I know you're not a senior, but I think you've got qualities that can really help and benefit people.
He really jumped out a couple times last year. He had huge moments. And he was another player. He and Willie were at that rush linebacker spot. Is that a natural fit to become part of the 4?
I think I think that's as easy a transition as any, going down to what we would call our edges. And I'm sure they've done a lot of the similar things too.
How different is it for a player like that to – and Coug fans have seen it over the years. Guys kind of shift around, put a hand down, standing up. Does it make that big of a deal?
I was never good enough to do either one of those. So I wouldn't think so as long as you love football. If you love playing, I think it's a new challenge. It's a new skill set to put in your toolbox, as you strive for this opportunity in college and in the NFL.
You mentioned Brennan Jackson had a great offseason. He's huge. He's put on a lot of weight, in good weight. He looks really good. Lamont Mcdougall is on the interior of the line there. How about the middle there? The guys trying to stuff some runs up the middle.
Well, we put a little emphasis on junior college body types.
Okay.
So we're still waiting to really get to practice to see those guys. But Amir and Antonio Poulet were guys we expect to come in and contribute.
Okay.
I think Christian Mejia has had a positive offseason.
A lot of weight put on there, too.
A lot of weight put on there, and I think kind of a fresh start for him. He's been great. Amir Crowder, Dallas is down there. I mean, there's some guys we just need to get to practice and see what they're all about with pads on.
So there's two JUCO entrants to the roster there.
Yeah.
Poulet and then
Amir.
And we haven't; those are I haven't seen them yet. I don't think. I think they're new.
Probably not.
Coming in. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so and the other announcement, we have a schedule and we have practice starting up tomorrow and then pads on the 13th, which is like 5 days from now, I think.
Well, we'll go 2 practices with helmets on, 2 practices with helmets and shoulder pads, and then you can get into full pads.
And do a break after that.
In that fifth practice.
So it starts to get really for the defense, right? When they can hit and you can kind of figure out.
And the O-line,
okay.
Right? You can start doing some of that pod work. You can do some of that inside run. You can get some of the callousing for the physicality of those guys. But the balance is making sure that they're healthy come game time and not beat on them too much, but make sure. And that's just going to be a constant evaluation from our coaches and honesty from our players. Because I think we've got, even though there's some youth on our team, I think there's some honesty, there's some transparency. There's guys that feel comfortable saying, not that they're getting out of practice, but in the leadership council has been very positive as far as, hey, coach, let's think about maybe we can do this. Like, Lucas Bacon today made a suggestion. I said, oh, yeah, if that makes it better, we'll do that. That doesn't hurt us at all. So really love our Spokane boys.
Lucas Bacon. I don't think Coug fans know Lucas Bacon. I mean, maybe some in Spokane do. So you like Lucas Bacon?
I love
He's a wide receiver, former walk-on. I think a walk-on from Spokane.
Yeah.
And he's been looking good.
Armani Marsh.
Armani Marsh is like a Swiss Army knife, right? That's how. And I'm regurgitating.
Guys that really love football and love the Cougs, love being part of this, and it shows how they practice, how they lift weights, how they approach it. They're, if you want to call them inspirational, but I think they're a great example of how to do things the right way.
Speaking of which, guy at practice today, Coug fans will know very well from last year, Brandon Arconato was on the Palouse today. Arco was at practice talking to the wide receivers. Looks really good. Looks like he's trying to stay in maybe Sunday shape to try to get some tryouts because COVID messed that up for so many guys.
Yeah, it's a hard year for all those guys. I said, I make sure you give it a whole nother year and get a whole nother cycle in with movement, when COVID calms down. But what a wonderful young man he is. Great guy. A great story. He worked. I don't know his story. But
he worked so hard. He was, he was kind of buried on the depth chart. He'd tell you. He'd say, I wasn't a guy. Mm-hmm. Wasn't. And then he had a big game against Colorado. Yeah, first touchdown in the rain, and it was like, that looked like a scholarship type play from a walk-on. And
nice.
Last year he was he had the most 100-yard games in the pack as any receiver, and he's tough as nails and great kid.
Yeah, he's good to have. You can just be around him. You get a good feeling.
We need to take a break. We're up against it. I want to ask you about something about wide receivers and an underrated element of the whole ball game there.
Okay.
You and Stutzman but we'll get right to it. We're up against the break. We'll take it. We're live here at Zeppo's. Coach Rolovich, that time of the week, and we'll be back next year on the Palouse.
Here's Matt Chazanow.
Back at it here at Zappos with Coach Rolo. We are getting set now for a season that has some definition. We've got the Beavers coming up on November 7th in Corvallis. We were talking about Brandon Arconato and the wide receivers. Top of them, Lucas Bacon's looked good. Joey Hobart,
young kid who's really came in with high level of maturity, high level of football knowledge. Could probably play multiple positions on our team.
Fun little full circle deal here with Joey Hobart. So Gabe Marks, the most productive receiver in Pac history, is coaching. Coronavirus just kind of knocked it up a little bit. High school ball in L.A. and lost. And these are Gabe's words. We had him on the show on Saturday. Lost to Joey Hobart's team because of Joey Hobart on the way to the state title. He said he was a serious problem.
I can see him being a major problem in high school.
Yeah.
You know, because physically he looks like he's junior, senior. Knowledge-wise, he's transitioned very fluidly.
Yeah, and then you've got four names that Coug fans definitely know. Calvin Jackson Jr., Renard Bell, Travell Harris, and Jameer Calvin is back, and Jameer Calvin has definitely had big moments. But one of the things Arconato did that is not talked about when you get to, like, the NFL Combine, and it sounds so simple, but caught everything. The ball was near him. He caught everything. When can you tell when a wideout just is a good wideout because he's got good hands?
Well, hand selection, I think, is very important. You know, we spend a lot of time on pointing out those examples. But sometimes the guys with the best hands, you can hear it.
Really?
You can hear it, where they're not fighting it. And you can catch it, but there's certain guys who just have a very gifted ability to catch the ball very smoothly.
Just like sinks in.
Yeah.
Like fingertip grabs, and, Arconato was great at that. Marks was great at that. Craycraft was good.
And they're dependable guys, and they make really strong catches in traffic because of their use of their hands. All that is stuff we like to not necessarily harp on, but make sure that we emphasize with these guys.
We're loaded up with Twitter questions here, so let's try to get to some of these. Some of the these are some of the off-football field stuff. LJ wants to know if your wife and kids have proper non-Hawaiian climate attire yet.
They're getting there.
Okay.
They're getting there.
Are they emotionally braced?
They're excited.
Yeah.
We spent 4 years in Reno, so
there you're all set then. You're all dialed.
We're all right.
Yeah.
We'll be all right.
Okay, yeah, you're all set then. LJ, thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Thanks for the question.
And thanks for the concern.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's Coug love right there.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's here. There was word, it's really a concern for that's a basketball thing. I mean, that's a Kyle Smith winter weather thing, but this football season's pushed back. Kyle was going to be here, but
he was?
He might be. I don't know. He may have bailed.
He bailed on me.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk to him about it.
Don't they play inside?
Allegedly.
Yeah.
That's the word. Yeah. That's what I hear. Okay. Here's a question from Alex. What are your top restaurants on the Palouse so far? Have you tried any breweries? And admittedly, I asked you this off air, and I didn't know what you set up in your office.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What's the deal?
We had a what did we call it? The lunch wheel of Pullman. like a carnival.
Like Price is Right kind of thing? Like,
yeah.
Who spins it?
Well, we're going to have a section where head coach buys. We're going to have a section offense buys. We're having a section defense buys. We're going to have – they said that this section, they should have a little sliver of defense buys and the rest is head coach buys. They said, no, we're going sliver.
Even
but, try to put it out there and see what restaurants we should put on the wheel. And, it'll bring some fun.
Can I recommend Zeppos? I highly recommend it. Yeah, great spot.
It is a great spot.
It's a fantastic spot. Lynn Carmichael, who's usually here, especially home games. Lynn's a great cook, comes up from California. What's the first week of practice like? How do you feel about – he asked about the media standings, but Lynn asked a question when to get it in here. How has practice been, over this week and then moving into
Well, we're still in the walkthrough phase, and we're getting a lot of stuff taught. It's been a lot more mental than a hard physical deal, but they've had a very erratic lifting schedule too. So
really?
Not recently. It's been good recently, but it was kind of up and down things. But they're a competitive group, and I think we'll be a competitive team. And I'm not talking about scores. I'm thinking how we play the game. I think it's important to them to play football the right way. Lot of mental stuff, and here's the thing with the defense, right? You're playing an offense every day in practice that doesn't use a tight end, is all 10 personnel. There's only so much of that. He has to get ready for 11 personnel, unbalanced, jet sweeps, 12 personnel. There's a lot of stuff that I think the defense has done a nice job, not necessarily simulating, but setting up for the guys to understand their run fits, coverages. They get a bunch with us, but and that's the one difference for Coach Dickert is, he's on a staff now where it is 10 personnel, where he got a lot of looks at different formations in the past. So I think it helps having Coach Banker and Ricky with us to kind of guide him through that, a little bit of any advice in that kind of realm too.
Yeah, I asked Coach Dickert on one of the Saturday shows what it's like to have a more than 10-year DC from the Pac. Banker was Mike Riley's DC for like 12 years.
Yeah.
And that's a ton of experience, and they were really good, and they were a kind of Pacific Northwest cousin, if you will, and that perspective I would think is invaluable.
Yeah, and sometimes I don't know that they knew each other very well or at all before that, but Banks has been a great, since I've been with him, has been a great addition. Not only the knowledge, but he's got good values. I think he loves coaching ball. I think his kids that he coached know that he loves them. That's what I noticed, and I think, you got a guy who's older than you that's done everything you're trying to do as a defensive coordinator, and so there has to be, sometimes that can be tough, but I think the defense has done a nice job. And we haven't gone into battle yet, but I know Banks and I know Rick, and I know how they're going to be as people, and they're going to try to coach their guys up and do what they're supposed to do as far as coaching, and really love their guys up and coach them within the scheme. And, that can be hard for some people, when you get a new staff going and you don't know everybody on there. But I appreciate Jake trusting me with Banks and Rick, and I think they've been a good addition, been good smooth sailing so far. As
difficult as it has been we haven't kicked off yet. You're new.
We haven't practiced yet.
Right. We haven't even practiced yet.
Yeah.
All these, the timing and the coronavirus and all this strangeness of what's going on here. The way that this is kind of a free year in terms of eligibility, right? In terms of coming back next year. All these guys you get this year back. Does it relieve a lot of pressure and turn this into, well, let's figure out the right way to do it? You're talking about the right way to run the run and shoot, the right way to run Coach Dickert's stuff. Does it actually give you a sort of weird advantage because you get the year back and you can kind of take this year to install a lot of stuff?
I would look at it where I think the strategy now is recruiting, right? Because now you've got a whole class coming, or pretty much a whole class committed, and they're going to join this complete team, where that would be very unique, right? That's never happened before, where these seniors get to come back around and play as seniors again, and with the addition of the freshmen. So it's very different. I don't know if I have a great adjective for it, but I think we're going to push as hard as we can with the guys. But you're talking about true freshmen coming in who are here now will also be true freshmen.
That's a huge deal.
That's where I think we'll see it in the future. You'll see younger players be ready to play and contribute earlier.
Yeah, like Jaden DeLora is a quarterback. If he gets any snaps, it's like this free eligibility year. He's back next year. There's no 4-game redshirt games or anything like that. It's just you can re-rack the year. And I hadn't thought about it. I was there today watching the guys, and I was looking around thinking, boy, that's a freshman. That's a freshman. That's good looking, good kids who are getting integrated, and then they come right back with the same year of eligibility.
That's right. And so we'll be very much ready to, I think, contribute at a high level next year.
Oh yeah,
especially you're talking about a whole year in the weight room with our guys, in the nutrition program that we got. I mean, there's a lot of resources for them to really take advantage of it.
Yeah,
they got to look at it as a real positive for them in their career.
I would think so. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Hey, we're going to take a break. We're up against it. We're live here at Zeppo's. We've got tons of questions. We can also get some write-ins maybe rolling here. We're live here at Zeppo's with Coach Rolovich.
Chazanow.
Back at it here at Zeppo's Talking Ball with Coach Rolovich. Great to see everybody. We are into some Twitter questions here and also have a write-in, and these are two that are closely related. Coach Jennifer Delzer, a frequent listener here to all the Cougar content. Great Coug wants to know, what current NFL quarterback would you most like to have on your team? There is a right answer to this and a wrong answer to this.
There is.
This is one where I don't mean to put you on the spot, but there is a correct answer to this question.
I
know
don't
you know
think
it.
we're going to go wrong choosing Russell Wilson.
Oh, well, that's true. That's a good one. That's
He's
true.
playing really well.
Yep, that's true.
Patrick Mahomes.
He's good. Gardner Minshew's pretty good.
Oh, I know you're talking about. Okay. He's playing well, too.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of good quarterback play going on in the NFL.
You grew up in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Write-in question, Steve Young versus Joe Montana. One of the great job handoffs in NFL history, Joe Montana to Steve Young. Did you have a guy?
Joe.
You were a Montana guy.
Well, Joe Montana.
Yeah.
That was the guy for me. I appreciate Steve. I did.
He was mobile.
I appreciated
lefty.
Steve Bono.
Steve Bono.
Steve
Yeah,
Bono.
absolutely. Yeah.
Will Clark on the Giants.
Yeah, for sure. So you're
Mitchell.
not an A's guy. You're a Giants guy.
I'm more of a Giants guy.
Okay. You and Bill Stevens.
Yeah. Oh, Bill?
Oh, yeah. Bill Stevens.
I like the Bash brothers, Canseco and McGuire.
Absolutely. Yeah. I like and it's very COVID to do the elbow touch.
Right.
It feels very Bash
They were ahead of their
Brothers.
game.
Yeah, they saw it coming. Yeah, something like that. If you could have, and this is such a tough question. Drew Calhar asks, if you could have one Coug legend on this year's roster, who would it be and why? And that's a tough one.
Probably 3 or 4 QBs you take pretty easily.
Yeah.
I don't know how hard would leaving Drew out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's tough to.
I mean,
tough
it's hard to turn
Bledsoe down.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a pretty good get right there. Now, if he did come on, what he would notice, I suspect, is quite the O-line, right? I mean, this is
that's a healthy group.
That is a full cover. That is tell me if it's fair to say the Cougar offensive line this year is a Pac-relevant, upper echelon Pac-12 unit in all likelihood.
I think so.
Yeah.
It was, one of the most sound units, and that, especially in a COVID year, right? I've said this before, but if we're in a good shape up front, I'm sure we're in better shape than a lot of people at this point. And it's a good core group and a good position group to feel comfortable about. Now, there's still some adjustment in learning the offense and stuff like that, but they're willing to work. They're tough. They I don't know if they have a name, but they almost need like a gang name.
Yeah.
They're
I bet you Liam or Abe would come up with one for
Yeah.
you. Liam would be happy to.
Yeah.
I think you would love that.
Yeah, they're fun to be around.
Yeah, for sure. Who are the best offensive linemen you played and coached with over the years?
Guy by the name of Vince Monowai I played with at Hawaii. That was pretty special. But there's some. Abe Lucas is a very talented young man.
What makes a great O-lineman and what makes a great
Well, for
O-line?
us, I think it's athleticism for the size plus a real nice conceptual knowledge of more than just their single assignment. I think, working, obviously you're wanting a nickel, not 5 pennies, but the guy that can understand all the schemes and centers I think are underrated. We ask the centers to do a lot, so them getting everybody on the same page is important.
How different is their job in the run and shoot? We've talked a lot about wide receiver quarterback relationship. What's the offensive line's relationship to the run and shoot, and how different and how much of an adjustment is that?
Another place, it would be getting used to pass setting that many times in a game, but that doesn't seem to be necessarily a problem for them. So
I doubt it. Yeah, I think they'll be ready for that.
No, I think they've enjoyed the challenge of a new offense, some new techniques. I think all the offensive positions have, actually.
We used to, the center calls out a lot of in the past. Freddie Malangoa for 4 years was calling out a lot. What's incumbent upon the center in the run and shoot? And
Probably a lot of similarities.
Okay.
Just kind of that glue that gets everybody tied together. And the quarterback can override them, but for the most part, they know their assignments and kind of get everybody dialed in.
Underrated element, right? To making it all smooth is
it gets bad if they don't do it. I know that.
Do we know? Do you have we know Abe. I mean, Abe's one of the top O linemen in the country, really. Who after that? We know Liam. He's been around a really long time.
Josh is playing good ball.
Josh Watson's been really good.
Young guy that's getting in there. Make.
Okay. Fafita.
Yeah.
Long arms.
Yeah.
His brother was on Air Force.
Josh Watson, Dylan McGinnis, Jared Kingston. Some of these guys. We got a nice little rotation going.
Deep group. Big
deep,
group.
And there's some young ones too that this is a good opportunity for them to soak it up if they approach it right. You know what I mean? They're not going to be asked, at least as we see it now, to be put in a lot of pressure situations, but it is a great opportunity for them to learn from the seniors and see how they work, how they handle every day. I think they're good examples for the young guys.
How's the integration of the new strength staff been with all these guys?
I think they're the MVPs, to be honest with you, because they spent more time with, and we haven't really spent a lot of time with them at all, but with all the changes, because strength coaches are kind of like those coaches I talked about earlier in the show, right? They want to plan out an 8-week lifting cycle, and that was constantly evolving. And I think Dwayne Bradshaw and his crew really did a nice job, have earned some trust. And I think our guys, they've enjoyed the training that Dwayne's brought. What a beautiful weight room.
Oh, isn't it great?
Beautiful weight room.
Yeah. Was there? When was the first time you saw it? And was it just when you got here after you got you saw it? You said, "Wow, we've got a real gem to work with."
Right.
Here.
Yeah. Just a beautiful building in general, top to bottom.
Dwayne has a gem to work with.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Yeah. Must be exciting for him. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Hey, let's take a break. We're up against it. Mountain Cold Refreshment, made to chill. 2020, Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly. We're taking questions. We're talking football here with Coach Rolovich as the Beaver game is coming up. About 4 weeks, we'll be in Corvallis as we'll be back here live at Zeppo's next.
This message is to my family.
Back here live at Zeppo's. One of the great things about college football and coaches is the fraternity and the trees, the coaching trees. First show we talked about Mouse Davis and the Palouse Washington connections and how so many coaches know each other. Not universal, not everybody doesn't know everybody, but most recently you had an opportunity to take some time and speak with one of the all-time greats and everybody's favorite, and Mike Price, who is in the area, and you had a chance to spend some time with him, didn't you?
And you can see why. When you get around him. I was able to talk to him a few times, when we first got the job, but mutual friends said, hey, we'll set up a quick dinner, before you guys get training camp started. And, I told the team, because I had to leave a walkthrough, and I said, listen, guys, there's a coach here named Mike Price, and, I got an opportunity to go meet with him tonight, and he's done things that at this place that I'm trying to do with you guys, and I think I owe it to him to just, go up and spend time, and I'll bring back what he told me, and had some fabulous stories. I mean, he talked about the first Rose Bowl and, 350,000 ticket requests or something for 35,000 seats, and it was great. Talked about they set up a toll-free phone line so people can try to get a ticket.
Really?
Yeah, and he said it was a massive phone bill that year. He said, I thought it was toll-free. They didn't charge us, but it's free for the caller. It was really good. It was really good, and I enjoyed it very much.
Did you get a chance to talk about, what do you talk about football at all, or was it kind of all about the experience and what it's like in your position here?
Some football, more about, how special this place is as a contributor to the football program, whether you're coach or player. I think that's what really stuck with him, and that's really fun to be around for me.
Oh, he's the best. I mean, he was around a lot the Sun Bowl year because he's on the committee, and he was around a lot the following year, the Holiday Bowl year. Sun Bowl was on the table, so we saw Coach Price like 5 straight games both years. I thought it was back. It was like Coach Price is back every week. He'd walk in, he'd have the Sun Bowl blazer on. It was great. Yeah, we saw, and then at the Sun Bowl, of course, we had him on at halftime.
Did you?
Yeah, it was awesome. He's one of the warmest and winningest and successful. He's just a great person. He's a great guy. Yep. Infectious. I'm told we got 3 breaks left. We need to take one. So we'll do it. We'll take a break. It'll be a quick segment, and then that'll put us on pace. So we're back here live at Zeppo's next year with Coach Rolovich.
This isn't a grill.
It's Rolovich. We are talking football. It's one of my favorite times of week, and I am so excited and grateful to be back at it. Huge thanks to Zeppos and all they're doing here with social distancing and keeping everybody
closer.
healthy.
We're getting closer.
We're working on it. We're getting toward kick. No. Hey, what is your philosophy? This is a question from Twitter from John Stubb, who listens all the time.
Okay.
He wants to know if you run more with inclement weather, because this will be deeper into winter, closer to January. Do you adjust play calling based on conditions and weather? How flexible do you feel there?
The one, and we were talking about Mouse Davis off the air, but I remember him real early on in my coaching career. I'll tell you, this is a good story, but wind was the one thing where he might think about. Oh, that was the hardest time for his quarterbacks, is when it's windy.
Interesting.
You know, there's a story that he would tape thumbtacks to his quarterback's fingers and grind them down in the rain so they could grip a ball.
Well, so wait, what do you mean? Like he would take thumbtacks?
Yeah. Grind them down to just a little nub so they can grab the ball. And they don't go deep enough to puncture it, but they can.
Oh, like stick in the ball.
Yeah, so they can hold the ball when it rains. I said, that's brilliant.
That actually. So if you put them in a glove.
No, just tape them on the fingertips of his quarterback. All right, only one hand. He only throws with one hand, so you only need 5.
Pretty smart.
Yeah.
That is pretty smart. That's a good way to do it.
I don't know if it's true, but it's a hell of a story.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah, a little burden on Milt would have a. Oh. I wonder if you talked to him when you were working in
Milt, grind those down for us.
Did you ever get any? Because I love that your heritage in football, your perspective in large part is in the equipment room where you were working with Hawaii for like a year.
Jerry Glanville was the DC, and I don't know, everyone remembers Jerry Glanville.
2 tickets for Elvis every game. Yep.
And he had the biggest football bag I've ever seen in my life, and I brought it out every day for him, throw it off the cart. The thing was so heavy.
How many
it was massive. I mean, massive. It must have been 8 feet tall and probably had a 6-foot diameter, and just it's
like 100 football.
It was a gang tackling pad. So,
really?
So the whole defense, they had to turn it over. So there's nothing to hang on to. They're just trying to turn this huge thing over. It was great. It was a great experience, and and I think you learn a lot about the innards of a program. You know, through what those equipment guys got to do. Not only just laundry, but how quick they get stuff done, and they're Mr. Fix-It.
They have great stories.
Man, Milt and JP are 2 of the best.
Oh, they are awesome. They're great guys. They do things like key element if it's certain weather. Speaking of being flexible in certain weather, you got to get the right cleats on. If you don't have the right cleats on, because you can change cleats and you can change equipment, change gear, talking to Milt and JP about the things they need to go through in pregame to get the team ready, it's actually really, it's 100 guys, 77 on the road or whatever the number is, and it's a lot of guys, it's a lot of gear, and you got to get it right and organized. And if that's wrong, you can't cut, you can't plant. That is an integral element to success.
Yeah, their knowledge is very valuable, especially for me, not necessarily making a lot of the head coaching decisions in a place that may have some colder weather.
Yeah, and it's going to be. How much have you thought about? How much difference does it really make? How much do you care? You got a December 15th game against Cal.
If there's some cleat, advance or whether if certain cleats work better in snow or cold weather, I don't know. They know that.
Milt's got it.
He's on that one.
Milt's got it down. I like the December 15th game against a Bay Area. Your Bay Area. Yeah. How's Cal going to feel about playing in the ice?
I don't know. I think Justin Wilcox is a hard-nosed coach. He's a defensive coach, so you got to anticipate that their mentality will be fine for a game like that. Kind of where the harder it gets, the better we play type deal, and that's I think how we should play also. But I think he's a good coach and has had a lot of success, and they're getting better and better.
Let's go back a little bit.
Sure.
First game, Oregon State. A couple of years ago, there was a mailing issue with some recruiting letters with the Beavers.
Right.
What happened there? And I think that was Jonathan Smith and the staff. And what was the story there?
I'm sure I don't have many friends in Corvallis. I accept that. It was a accounting error or something like that. But there's a couple things that me and Jonathan have Got to clean up some stuff, I think. But I'm sure it'll be brought up in game 1.
It was a lot of the
I thought they were creative hashtags, that's all.
You tweeted out, you kind of got some mailings for some recruits with it's pretty funny. Yeah, it was pretty funny. I look forward to week 1 against
and I think their fans already have that ready for me.
It was everybody's first thought, for sure. Oh, it's awesome. Hey,
that's good. That's good for football. Passionate fans, sticking up for their school and uplifting the maybe not necessarily a rivalry, but games in the conference. And I think making news is good about good teams going at each other with a little bit of history. I think it makes for stuff to talk about.
Pacific Northwest rivals. Those the 4 up here. There's added juice to those games. If the Beavers are in town, I don't care what the record. I don't care about the situation. Beavers, Huskies, Ducks.
I guess you can't necessarily go against the turnover chain, but I think their chainsaw thing is a pretty good idea.
Oh, yeah. They have a turnover chainsaw. How do you feel about all that stuff, the chain and the chainsaw and the turnover?
I think as long as you're fairly original with it,
yeah.
And your team, it kind of got to fit. I think if you force it, it could lose its flash pretty quick.
Organic.
Yeah, organic is good.
I think somebody had a throne. I think I saw that once.
I think there was a throne.
I forget who that was.
I don't know if the throne is still –
I don't know. Well, somebody's got to carry it there. You got to get it there.
Travel it.
That's what I'm saying. You on the road, you got this heavy thing. I don't know.
I give them credit for the chainsaw. I think that was very creative and has become part of their deal.
Yeah, it's fun. It's really fun. We'll take a break. We've got one segment left. Next, we're live here at Zeppo's with Coach Rolovich.
And now,
And this is our final segment. We got a couple of minutes left. And I want to talk about something you did last week at the show, how it kind of impacted the community a little bit. We do a raffle, and there was $100 that you gave out to try to pay it forward. And Dan and Karen Coonrad are here every show. They're the best, great Cougs. And Karen was able to sort of pay it forward in a really special way, which is, I think, what you envisioned for it.
And it's just great to hear those stories. I think everyone knows somebody that could use a little help, especially these days, and that's kind of exactly what the idea was behind it, kind of pay it forward and make somebody's day. And it's great to hear the story after, and I think it was heartfelt. I think it was, you used the word organic, but I think it was real natural, and it felt good. So I'm glad it helped everyone.
Huge thanks to you for that. I think we're going to do a raffle again today.
Let's raffle
All right, we'll do
off.
another raffle after the show. We've got about 60 seconds. Big thank you to everybody who's here. It's great to see everybody. To Jerry Kylo, who gets us on the air. To Jared Brenduber, who helps get everything loaded up there. To everybody who watched and who listened. And David Kahn is back in the IMG Network studios. Huge thanks to David as well. We've got just a few more.
Thanks for the fries.
Thanks for the fries, Zeppos. This is the best. And thank you to you, and this is awesome. So go Cougs. We got a show next week, 6 o'clock, and we're getting toward practice.
Yep,
we'll be in practice schedule.
Some practice stuff to talk about.
All right, let's do it. Hey, go Cougs. Don't go anywhere if you're here. We're going to do a raffle in just a moment.
Cool. Go Cougs. Thanks, Chaz.
You guys are off.
All right, thanks,
David.
All right, very cool. Thanks, David. Hey,
All right.
Jer, can you turn us up to the – all right.